Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Tuesday, October 18th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Real quick, a couple of clarification points. Number one, the price you see over here and the candlestick you see right there, they will still be moving around and changing. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. Stock number one here, INPX. Very, very nice move today. Got the breakout here, which for some, this is going to kind of remove at least your current approach because yes, the breakout has technically already happened up through that consolidation period. But the idea of a watch list is to find unique, to find interesting situations and not rush out and buy anything, but well, to watch and see if the price does ultimately behave in a way that fits your personal risk tolerance and personal strategy. So yes, if you're a breakout player, you did technically miss that breakout there, but the breakout in and of itself on the high and increase in volume is what makes an interesting situation. So it's worth at least watching and throwing out the question to yourself, okay, well, will another breakout pattern form? Now, maybe you like to play pullback. So there's multiple ways you could go about it. Maybe you're saying, well, let's see if the price wants to pull back to that breakout point, do the back test, and then continue on up. So there's multiple angles that you can approach, but the underlying and common denominator here is that this is an interesting and unique situation because you got the volume, you got the breakout, so it's worth at least keeping an eye on. So if you do like to play these stocks that are down below the $10 mark, a lot of things going on, good solid breakout. And if this breakout is the start of something much bigger, then who knows how cheap, down below $10 may look later on in the week. So like I said, worth at least keeping somewhere on your watch list. Next one, ACOR, and another one where just a big mover today. Volume remains strong all day long. You can see just not even close, just well above the normal volume, and the price, I mean, in some senses, I'm not even exaggerating. Basically went straight up all day long. Now, sure, there are a couple pullbacks along the way, but, from a visual stake, I basically went straight up. So as far as levels to watch moving forward, very clear the current level of resistance right there at that 91-cent mark. You can see that the price has been up here several occasions and has just struggled with it. Now, at one point did actually break through it, but that didn't last long as the price fell back below it. But as I speak right now, you can see the price is once again hovering right below that level. So that does bring up the more than valid question of, okay, is the price prepping for another breakout? Maybe the price needs to consolidate out a little bit, which could very well create a good solid pattern. So for example, if the price just, does something like this, give or take, then what you'd have from a pattern perspective is you'd have that level of resistance, you'd have some sort of support, you'd be able to draw the big momentum move up like that, put the golf hole down here, and you'd have yourselves a nice quality bull pennant pattern. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to occur, but if the price does kind of consolidate and chop around, you do have the potential for a nice overall bullish pattern to form, assuming there's not some sort of just massive crash or something out of nowhere. But as of now, it's holding its gains, going a little bit of sideways here, and as I speak, knocking on that door. So that's why I like to do these when the market's still open, because like I said, knocking on the door. So by the time the market does close, maybe you're watching this and saying, Clay, the price is up over $1. Well, just know at that point in time, the price has broken out. So it transitions back to the first one we talked about, where, okay, now it just becomes of, okay, the breakout has occurred, sure, but is this the start of a much bigger breakout? So you could start to ask those sorts of questions. But overall, very nice move. And like I said, as I speak, you can see it's pushing up through that level. So we'll see if this is the start of something much bigger. Next one, FNHC, and this is a little tricky to talk about because there's a lot of perspective that goes into it. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're a day trader, flipper, scalper, whatever you want to call yourself, and you're buying right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 20 minutes, well then yes, from that perspective, the chart looks really bad because there was a large pullback that occurred. Now, if you care about more so things from the bigger picture, even with the pullback here and that set of lows right there, if you start to compare where the previous lows have been, and then if you envision each of those as stair-steps, what do you have? Again, emphasis on big picture. Well, from the big picture, you still very clearly have stair-steps progressing in the upwards direction, and that's what it's all about. It's all about showing the progress, and in this situation, progress being defined as those stair-steps, working their way in the upwards direction. So from that angle of things, how do you feel about the chart? Well, I don't know. Only you can answer that because only you can answer what your strategy and what your mentality was going into it. As far as prices moving forward, if there is any sort of attempted recovery, definitely have a bit of a downtrend trend line right there, which puts the breakout area right around that 91-cent mark. If there is more of a pullback, then the next potential pullback point could be this previous breakout area right down there around the 60-cent mark. So let's see how it continues to play out. Next one, AVCT. Now, earlier I mentioned a potential bull pennant pattern, and here we already have a bull pennant that has established itself. So a lot of people, you got to think, are going to be watching this, and when a lot of people are watching the same patterns and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want. It can produce some very dynamic price movements. So let's just get this pennant drawn into place. So we have our resistance level right there. We have our area of support right there. In fact, I'll change that to green to represent more so the bullish part of the pattern, and then maybe make it just easier to see overall. Let's make it the same color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big momentum move up like that, and let's put our golf hole down there to make it visual, and we have ourselves another bull pennant pattern. So again, nothing is guaranteed, but is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price comes up to that area and breaks up through it, that break, even if it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy, could create that much more buying pressure? That's absolutely a more than valid outcome that could play out from there. So keep an eye on it. So if you like to play bull pennants, you like to play stocks down below $5, here you go. Next one, AMC. Talked about this one in Friday's video and said that, yeah, Friday was not a green day, but overall, I argued that the chart did look strong and did, still have a good solid day. And then today that proved out as the price is now put in some higher highs. So the uptrend continues, and it's just a matter of, can the price continue to not necessarily go straight up every day, because that's impossible, but can the price at least put in those higher bases and higher highs? And that's exactly what's in play here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these levels because they serve their purpose. And now moving forward, in fact, let's actually talk about the resistance level. So the first key adjustment here, and is always good when levels of resistance need to be adjusted upwards. But the next key point here to keep a close eye on is right up there at $6.50. If you go through the history of things, you can see this level has been quite stubborn, including today. So 650 will be that near-term level of resistance. And then if the price does break through there, you want to keep a close eye on that pink line up there. The 200 period moving average currently valid at, let's just call it $6.75. So 650 and then 675 will be the next two key areas of resistance. But going back to levels of support, the very straightforward way to now start to monitor this is that purple line there, the 50 period moving average, which has gone flat. And it's been a long time since this level has gone flat. So the next potential, assuming the price keeps on putting in those higher bases, is this level is going to start to curl itself upwards and move in the bullish direction. And as long as that's the case, that does imply that not only are the bulls in control, but they continue to get healthier and healthier. So the question just becomes, okay, yeah, it's bouncing, but is this bounce truly healthy? We'll watch that purple line. As long as the price stays above that purple line, then in my mind, the bounce remains a healthy one, and it's worth keeping an eye on. Real quickly, wanted to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online training that I'm offering later on in the week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used, and why it's so powerful in building consistency, then definitely get signed up for the free training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying what you've seen, then I want you to get signed up for the free training. Next one here, RBLX. Very, very impressive move today, and all this was occurring on well above average volume, and we have some very well-defined levels here, and the main level right up there at, let's just call it 43.75, and we'll just call that the self-fulfilling prophecy point. So as I mentioned previously, are there guarantees? Of course not, but is it valid? Is it rational to think that if the price can get up to that area and then get the break up through it, that break could create additional buying pressure? That's certainly a plausible thought process to have. In terms of levels of support, key level to watch here, going to be that trend line right there in a near term level. Now, if the price breaks below there, does that mean the entire chart's epically destroyed? I'm not saying that at all, but if the price can stay above there, that would keep a nice bull pennant pattern in play and make the chart just look that much healthier. But if there is a break of that level, especially if it's a high volume break, then I don't think anybody would be shocked to see the price at minimum go down and test the $40.50 mark. So we'll see how it plays out. But overall, anyway, look at it, very, very strong day to day for RBLX. Next one, AGFY, and a very, very brutal day on this one. And not even necessarily, yes, it was a brutal day, but really all the carnage occurred in just two 30-minute candles. So that 30-minute session, and then the following 30-minute session, and then from there, it's basically just been sideways price movement, after the gap up here. But nonetheless, just a very, very rough day here. And which brings about the first key level of resistance to now watch moving forward, which is going to be that purple line there. And that is just a classic example of a support now acting as resistance. So the price broke down below it, and you can see every single bounce has just been getting stuck right up around that 50 period moving average. So in the very near term, right around that $1.15 mark will be that first key level of resistance. If the price can push up through $1.15, then the next key level would be right up there around $1.30. In terms of levels of support, first key level is just where the bleeding finally stopped today, and that sits down there right at the dollar mark, which isn't too shocking. You know, one of those big psychological levels, big old round number at $1. So keep an eye on that. In the event the price then comes down and breaks through $1, next key level of support at that point would be down there around the 80-cent mark. But yeah, no doubt about it. A lot of bloodshed today, but who knows? Maybe this is one of these where it's just a little bit overdrawn, and then the price can make a good solid snapback bounce. So keep a close eye on it. Next one, NIO, and this will mean a bit more to those that have watched past videos. But if you haven't, then step one has been completed. What was step one? Well, it was, can the price get up above that red line there and stay up above it? And yes, after today, the price got above that red line. And even with that pullback here, the price is still staying up above it. So good to see that. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that level as it served its purpose now. But what I am going to do is add in an initial level of support where, preferably speaking, if the price can now start to stay above that $12.10 mark, that would certainly be solid. And I'm not saying this will occur, but just for explanation's sake, if the price were to drop down below there, well, now all of a sudden you have the price having gone right back to where it was. I mean, not to insult your intelligence, but price movements that go back to where they were, not exactly a sign of genuine power. So that's why, in my mind, 12.10, very important level. And then, again, this will mean a little bit more to those of you that watched the video previously. But you know that I've been talking about that purple line quite a bit, and this is exactly why, because once again, you can see that while the price did break up through that red line, which I've since deleted, you can see that that purple line now is presenting a very, it's presenting a problem. Not that that problem can't be wiped away, but as of now, that's going to be the next key level of resistance to watch very closely, currently valued at $12.45. So overall, good job in breaking and staying above that trend line. Can the price build upon that momentum? Let's see how the next few days play out. Next one, TSLA Tesla. Very, very impressive day on this one. And we have ourselves a classic little pattern here. So I want to get this in place. So we have that level of resistance right there. We have that level of support right here. So yes, the latter part of the day, and again, I'll change that to green to represent more so the support part of the pattern. So yeah, you got to factor in that the latter part of the day, the price was in this downtrend like that. However, you also have to factor in complete context and ask yourself the question, well, what was going on before this downwards channel? Well, you had this huge move up like that. And when I complete that, we have ourselves a bull flag pattern. So just because something's bullish, no guarantees, but is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price can get a break up through that pattern right there, that break could create additional buying pressure? That is certainly a valid conclusion to come to. And if the price does get that break, very, very curious, how does the price behave if it does get right up there around 226.50, as that has been a massive problem point in the past, so keep an eye on that. As far as levels of support are concerned, you have this purple line here, the 50-period moving average, valid at 215.50, that you'd preferably want to see hold strong if there are any sort of pullbacks. Because if the price does drop below there, then you start to get closer and closer to potentially being able to say, well, geez, now the price has gone right back to where it was. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but that is why that purple line there is important. Next one, TQQQ, which is an ETF that allows you to make money if you think that the NASDAQ market as a whole is going to rise. And the difference here is just allows you to get involved at a much lower price compared to going and trying to buy QQQ. And you can see here, not a whole lot of movement, but it does create a very interesting setup because you got a very clear level right up here at $19.50. And once again, we'll just call that a self-fulfilling prophecy point, so I'm not trying to imply that's a great discovery. A lot of people have noticed $19.50. So it just goes back to reason that while no guarantees, if the price can push up through that level, valid to think that that could create additional buying pressure. But you don't want to get too excited. Now, don't get me wrong. A break in 1950 would be a step in the right direction, but not that far off. You do have the 200-period moving average, that pink line there looming overhead, currently valued at 2050. Now, if the price breaks through 1950 and then, breaks through 2015, at that point, that's going to be a sign of very, very impressive power. So we'll see how the price behaves relative to these areas. And then like the other stocks we've talked about, if there are any sort of pullbacks, key level to watch in this situation is going to be that purple line there, which you now know is a 50-period moving average, currently valued at, we'll just call it $18.60. So not a whole lot of movement today, a lot of sideways action after the gap up, but it has created this very nice little pattern here. So we'll see if the price can indeed get the break in 1950. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get yourself signed up for the free training. Like I said, it'll be later this week, Thursday, October 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy, hit that like button, leave a simple comment down below. Thanks for watching. Everybody take care. Have a good one.